Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Liftoff with Jeanniey Walden, the show that helps you pave a path to success at work and at home. You all know me, but in case you are a new viewer, I'm your host, Jeanniey Walden, and we are here on our fabulous new set. This episode is an emotionally powerful one, so get ready. I hope you love our guests as much as I do because we are bringing some critical discussions right to the forefront. Our first guest, Mitch Albom, is the author of numerous books of fiction and nonfiction, which have collectively sold more than 40 million copies in 47 languages worldwide. He has written 7 #1 New York Times bestsellers, including Tuesdays with Morrie, the best-selling memoir of all time. He joins us now to discuss his new book, The Little Liar. It's available now. Welcome, Mitch.
Thanks, Jeannie. Happy to be here.
So, Mitch, you know I'm not a huge fan of books, but this one gave me goosebumps and I couldn't put it down. Tell all our viewers why you decided to write this book.
I didn't know how pertinent it would be today when I started it a couple of years ago, I have to be honest, but I've always wanted to write a book about truth and lies and the price we pay for both of them. And I came up with this story based on true events of an 11-year-old boy in Greece during World War II who had never told a lie in his life. He was known in his neighborhood as the most honest kid. And when the Nazis invade, they find out about him and they kidnap him and decide to use him. And they say, listen, you can go back to your family and everything will be fine. All you have to do is stand on the train tracks and tell these people who are coming that they're going to good jobs and good homes. And then you can go back to your family. And thinking, being a trusting kid, he does this day after day until on the last day, the last train, he sees his own family being shoved into a boxcar and finds out that they're all being sent to concentration camps to die. And he realizes that he's been lying all this time, this kid who's been honest. And from that point forward, he can never speak the truth again until he's forgiven. And it follows him over the course of the next 40 years.
And so what was it that actually inspired you?
You know, I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a older Jewish couple that lived just down the street, and they always wore long sleeves, even in the summertime. And I remember asking my mother as a kid, why are they wearing long sleeves? It's hot outside. And they said, well, they have these numbers on their wrist, but they don't want people to see. And I said, why not? And she said, well, you'll find out when you're older. You know, well, I'm older and I found out, but those people are gone now, you know, almost all of them. And they're not here to tell the story of what happened. And if you can't be reminded of what happened, you run the risk of repeating it. And when I look around at the world and I see how we sort of choose our truths and, you know, we decide, well, we're going to listen to this news network and nothing else, or we're going to believe this guy and nothing else, I start to worry about where we can go when we're not dedicated to finding out the real truth of things. So I thought it was a story that was pertinent, but still very emotional and even hopeful, because what's a more hopeless time than during the Holocaust? And yet people still had hope. This little boy still has hope that one day he's going to be forgiven. His family in the concentration camp at night, even for all the terrible things that happen, they gather around and they force each other to say one good thing that happened that day. Maybe they got an extra spoonful of soup. Maybe a rotted tooth fell out, or one says, I saw a bird today. Why do people gravitate to hope, even in the most hopeless of situations? Well, because that's hope is what keeps us alive. And so I thought these were important things to say in a time that we're in right now. And they kind of all came together in this story.
Your books always have a larger message. And with everything that's going on in the world today, did you know about that when you started to write this book?
In the end, yeah, it's a bit of a thriller, and it follows these 4 people, the 3 kids and the Nazi who tricked him, all for 40 years. So you don't know as they interweave with one another what's going to happen, but it shows the ramifications of the lies that were told. But in the end, it's a love story about these 2 little kids when they're 11 and 12 who are kind of in love with one another and then are separated by this Holocaust. And he becomes a recluse, ashamed of what he's done. And she spends her life searching for him because he's changed his name and she can't find him. She travels around the world until she finally finds him, to try to say to him, it's okay, you're forgiven, you didn't know what you were doing. And love in the end is what sort of redeems us from whatever we're suffering from. And so, yeah, I wanted to deliver something that by the end would have that message, but you got to read it to the end to get to that.
Mitch, it was such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's good talking to you.
See, I told you it'd be powerful, didn't I? I don't know about you, but I still have chills. Our next guest is going to keep us right on that same topic as we discuss his nonprofit for the Jewish community. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Jack Gourdji, Executive Director of American Friends of Yeshivot Bnei Akiva, joins us on Liftoff to shed some light on how we can help in the war in Israel. Prior to joining AFYBA, Jack spent 12 years as Executive Director of Jewish institutions in both schools for children with special needs and in adult day programs. Jack, thanks for joining us on Liftoff.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Jeannie. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us about your role and all about the AFYBA.
Sure. So AFYBA is an institution with 70 schools throughout Israel. We have over 25,000 students that attend these schools, high school students, boys and girls. And the schools are really meant for students to get the best possible education and for them to be the future leaders of Israel. And that's what our goal is for them. A lot of the students live in Israel. They're Israeli students, but also a lot come from different countries, from the United States. We have people that come from Europe. We even have a school for Ethiopians, specifically for the Ethiopian population, and Ukraine, Russia, I can go on and on. But all these students have one goal in mind, is to get the best possible education and to be really the best person they can be. And we hope to have the future leaders of Israel from one of our schools.
It's such an important topic, especially right now. In the current state of Israel at war, I understand you're really working to assist. Tell us about what you're doing to raise both awareness, funds, and support.
Yes, thanks for asking. So we right now, so first of all, the schools in themselves really have done a total 180. We've been focusing on Israel, the economy, what we could do to help Israel out, what we could do to help out the families that were displaced from the war. We need support from funders here in the United States. And one of my primary goals is to raise awareness to these funders and anybody really who could help us out and be able to give to this institution so that we can continue to help out the military and the families.
And with a global student population and you driving awareness and driving support, what really makes the AFYBA school very different and unique from anything else?
Yeah, so I'll say a couple of things. One is that we have 70 schools. So that's pretty unique that we have 70 schools, and they're throughout the state of Israel, from north down to south. They're very specialized schools. Some of the schools are, we have music schools, we have environmental schools, we have art schools. We have schools really for everybody. We have schools that are primarily for Israelis speaking Hebrew, but those that are coming from different countries are able now to speak in their own languages within these classrooms that we've set up for them. So we're very unique in that way. And now for the war, more so. We really have undergone a mission of doing everything we can. Our students right now are helping by going out to the farmlands to help out, because all the farmers have been, have left the farmlands down south, which was, really devastated over the last couple of months. And so we're now there to help them out. Our students, instead of going to classrooms, are going to these farmlands to help with the vegetation. So it's really an amazing thing of what our students do and what we do in our schools and our institutions. And again, any support we could get would really be appreciated.
Well, Jack, thanks for all the work that you're doing to help create future leaders, and thanks for all the work you're doing to drive awareness. We really appreciate you being on Liftoff.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, everybody. After all of that, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about health. Our health. We've got a fascinating set of facts about functional health and more when we come back. Welcome back. Dr. Jeanniey von Kertman was recently selected as Top Global Impact Healthcare Leader by the International Association of Top Professionals. She was chosen for her outstanding leadership, dedication, and commitment to the industry. With 25 years of professional experience, Dr. Jeanniey is a trailblazer in health, and we are so excited to have her on Liftoff. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jeanniey.
Thank you for having me, Jeannie.
It is an honor to have you on and talk about so many questions around medicine that I frequently ask Google. So now I'm going to hear from an expert. So let's start with functional medicine. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, functional medicine is, when you go to a regular doctor, allopathic medicine, you're throwing darts, right? You go into a doctor's office and they already know what they're going to give you before you even walk through the door. You're sitting in the office for 30 minutes to an hour sometimes, right? And they already know they're going to have the pink pill, the purple pill, the yellow pill, the black pill. Boom, boom, your size, your weight, your race. Here's your prescription. You take it to the allopathic pharmacies, right? And you pick up those medications. Functional medicine is different. You go into the office and you actually get to talk to a provider that wants to look at your body as an integrated whole. Think of your body like a car, right? So we got to rotate those tires. You got to look at the spark plugs, got to lift up the hood, and you got to see exactly what's missing, what's lacking, right? What kind of octane of gas are you running on? Are you running on gas and no oil? Oil and no gas, right? That puts a lot of wear and tear in your body. So functional medicine is evidence-based medicine where you're focusing on that biochemical individuality. So we prick your finger, draw your blood, take a hair sample, look at your DNA, and I'm like, okay, Jeannie, the mechanic says, boom, 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 you're missing this, that, and the other. Now we're going to put it back in. You're going to get younger and healthier and vibrant. You'll be swinging off the chandeliers.
All right, before we leave this interview and go to your office and do the hair sample and the blood, tell me about regenerative medicine, because that's also another one that I Google all the time.
Yes, regenerative medicine it's like another branch of functional medicine, right? Now you're telling the body to regenerate its own genetics. So exosomes, stem cells, you're looking at specific exosomes and stem cells, and you're telling your body to regrow cartilage, to regrow the collagen. You do stem cell injections from tissue banks, and it's all natural, right? Because you're using your platelet-rich plasma, you're using your own blood. And when you're using your own body's healing, you have the innate immune system. The innate immune system is your own natural body saying, okay, I'm healing. So as opposed to doing Botox and Juvederm and all these toxic facial fillers, you're sticking with vitamin A, CBD, you're doing, hyaluronic acid, you're doing stem cells, you're doing exosomes, and you're putting that right back in the face, and then the body just gets younger. So it's a different branch of that functional medicine tree, and people get younger and fitter and healthier, and they're teaching their body how to do it on its own.
And you said the magic word, collagen.
Yeah.
So I'm down with that one too. All right, one more that I've Googled, allopathic medicine.
So, yep, allopathic medicine, that's the mainstream medicine that everybody's familiar with. You're just going to the cookie cutter medical system, 1-minute office visit, 2-minute office visits, and it's, big pharmaceutical push, right? You have the Band-Aids for the boo-boos, and America has tons of Band-Aids, Jeannie, We're not Adderall deficient, we're not Xanax deficient, we're not Valium deficient, but what we are deficient in is progesterone, the different types of hormones, the pregnenolone, vitamin C. When's the last time you walked into an office and had a provider say, hey, let's check your CoQ10 levels. Let's look at, progesterone levels, your testosterone levels. A lot of women don't realize, wow, I can take testosterone as a female. Yeah, ladies, we have testosterone and that helps us with our libido, right? When I talk about swinging off the chandeliers, that's the hormone of, woo, revive and swing.
Well, we are going to have to revive and swing in a future episode because I definitely know we're having you back on the show. But thank you so much for coming today and sharing these insights on medicine. This was super inspiring.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, get ready to swing off the chandeliers now and in the future because we're going to be swinging with excitement when our beauty contributor, Francis Tesmer, joins us to chat about how she's changing the world along with Dr. Tasha M Brown. Do not miss this. I'm back with a great friend of Liftoff, beauty contributor Francis Tesmer. You know her as a global entrepreneur, philanthropist, and leader in the intelligent beauty movement. Francis is joined by Dr. Tasha M Brown. Before founding TMB Psychological Services, Dr. Brown served as a clinician in the school-based program and as an assistant professor of medical psychology and psychiatry at New York Presbyterian Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Great to be with you.
So I have a few questions for both of you because it might seem to our viewers like this is an odd combination. I think they're going to be really impressed when they see how the world comes together. So Dr. Brown, describe the nature of beauty and its connection to our evolution.
Yeah, I love this question. I love this conversation talking about beauty as it relates to us as humans, because we really can't have a conversation about what it means to be a human, what it means to be a person, without talking about how that plays into our identity development and our evolution as people. When we think about our perspectives of beauty, it plays into how we feel about ourselves, how we show up on our jobs, how we show up with our families, our self-esteem, our mental health. And so this conversation about beauty and what it means is important for everyone as we think about just how we give to the spaces and places around us.
Yeah, it's so true, because if you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like you look beautiful or feel beautiful on the inside, pretty much have a bad day. Or the people that you talk to are in for a bad day, one of the two. But Francis, you talk about this all the time so eloquently. Tell us about the role that the beauty industry plays in our lives today.
Absolutely. You know, beauty is very essential to our life, right? The way we feel, as Dr. Brown says, the way we show up in the world, the way we see ourselves, and the way we see others, right? So beauty is at the center of our life. And beauty is more than just our outer beauty. We are not just one thing. We are so many things, right? And all of it together, when it's well, it makes us feel good and look good. But it all has to come together, right?
It's amazing because before this conversation, some viewers might not have realized that mental health can be linked to perception of beauty and that the beauty industry can help drive improvements in mental health. Yet here you are both saying about this. Dr. Brown, is this new news to you, or is this something that you've known forever?
No, this is so funny. I was just talking about with the person who does my nails, and she always talks about, like, sometimes when people will come, they'll sit down and just like start talking. When it relates to the people who in the beauty industry, they're probably some of the first line people who hear about depression, who hear about anxiety, who know what's happening in your day-to-day lives. And so when we think about mental health, people use beauticians, use self-care. When you're doing something, they use that as a form of self-care that helps to boost their mental health. And very often conversations about mental health are happening in the places where beauty is the center.
And Francis, I don't think I've asked you this question yet. And I know we've had so many great conversations about intelligent beauty, but you've known this. I mean, it's why you started doing what you did. When did you first realize that this was just the way that we live and something that we could change to help improve the world?
Absolutely. And, you know, as Dr. Brown says, beautician, most of the time, they are the very first person that they know what's happening with us. And the whole movement of LEAD is to empower the beauticians so that once they know what's happening with us, they can have supportive conversation and communication that can help us in the way we need the help, which is beautifying us, right? So that we feel good about ourselves, right? So that also we can go get the help that we need. The point is that you confide in your beautician. You connect heart to heart and you tell her or him what's happening with you. And so LEAD wants to empower this beauty professional so they can actually do something about it, whatever it is that it needs. So beauty is so essential to our life.
Such a fabulous conversation. It always gets me so excited. Intelligent beauty, here we come. So great having you both on Liftoff.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with some content for the soul, so stay tuned. Dr. Don Ella, CEO and founder of Supernal World Creations, Soul Link, and the Soul Medic, is a highly accomplished expert in complementary, integrative, and alternate medicine. Dr. Don is a soul physician, a doctor of divinity, doctor of metaphysics, and ordained minister. Wow, that is so amazing. We are so excited to have you on Liftoff, Dr. Don.
Thank you for having me.
Don, you've created some incredible material that helps us all. Tell me a little bit about why you created the Soul Link app.
I created Soul Link to address the growing need for mental health support. 17 years ago, I was in a tragic accident that left me in a coma for 3 days. When I left this world, I remember going down a dark tunnel and then popping out and seeing a bright white light. I was told it's not your time yet. You need to go back because you're supposed to heal people. After coming out of the coma, I was bedridden for a year, healing from the head trauma. This began my journey in utilizing meditation with sound for healing within the realm of mental health support.
Wow. I just don't know any other word for it. So what you're doing this is your purpose and this is what you're driven for. Tell everybody who's watching how Soul Link can potentially help with all of our issues, stress, loneliness, and any related mental health issue we have.
Well, I learned from my near-death experience that we all have a soul that's similar to this ball of light. And outside the soul, there are these fragmented pieces blocking the light from shining. This lifetime, we have the opportunity to transmute these fragmented pieces, allowing our light to shine. These fragmented pieces show up as blockages or lessons in our everyday experience. The formulated pieces in Soul Link meditations assist in transmuting these fragmented pieces, allowing our light to shine.
That sounds so beautiful. And it just is, it makes me think about people that I know and how you meet some people that just have this bright light shining from within them and that are just creating goodness in the world. So I love everything that you're talking about. Tell me a little bit about what you've created in Soul Link that really helps healing and positive change in people's lives.
Well, 27 years ago, when I was pregnant with my son, I learned that the brain is programmable. So between the ages of 0 and 6, the brain is programmed through subconscious. Later in life, if we want to work on reprogramming this program, we can do so in particular states of consciousness. There are different states of consciousness that we need to access to do this. It's alpha, beta, delta, and theta states. The sound compositions in Soul Link are scientifically curated to resonate with these states of consciousness within our human brain, allowing for deep inner work of transmutation simply by listening to the audio.
This is such perfect advice for this time of year and everything that people are dealing with. Thank you so much for being on Liftoff. I'm sure that you've inspired so many people and will be helping even more.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everybody, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? Well, when we come back, we're going to get you into the holiday spirit even further, so don't go away.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Welcome back. Christopher Radko is the celebrated artist whose glass-blown ornaments have adorned homes all over the world for decades, and we are so lucky to now have them on our set too. After a 15-year hiatus, he is now in his second year with a new life, HeARTfully Yours. Christopher is here to tell us more about his beautiful work. Welcome to Liftoff, Christopher.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Well, indeed, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas these days. After 15 years, as you said, I had a really long non-compete, and now I'm back in town with a new company called HeARTfully Yours. And I'm the artist, of course, Christopher Radko, who designs all these HeARTfully Yours ornaments. What's really fascinating about these ornaments is they're made in Europe, every single one of them, by the same families that made them over 150 years ago. And each ornament still takes a whole week to make with all the intricate painted details that go into them. These are truly heirloom ornaments.
They really are. But Christopher, I have to ask, how did you get started in making ornaments? How is that a career that somebody chooses?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's certainly not something I ever thought I would do as a child. My parents were doctors, but it started with our 12-foot family tree. And when I was in my early 20s, I bought a new tree stand, guaranteed to hold this huge tree, but unfortunately it didn't. The whole tree crashed, and all these beautiful old heirloom ornaments from the early 1900s shattered. My grandmother came into the living room, informed me that I had ruined Christmas forever. So it was a little bit of guilt that went a long way, because that guilt got me looking for the glass ornaments and the glass blowers. I went to Europe. I had some samples made. And when I came home to the States, all my friends wanted to buy them from me. So that's how the business was born.
Wow, that's amazing. But I totally can relate to your story, because every year, one of those very special ornaments somehow breaks when you're putting them on the tree, and you just are heartbroken for destroying part of your family's history. So I get it. It totally makes sense. But where do you get all the ideas for the different ornaments? Is it from your childhood?
You know, that's a great question. Indeed, a lot of the designs come from inspiration from my childhood as well. In some cases, some of the glass blowers I work with have antique molds from the 1880s and 1890s. So I reinterpret the designs working around the antique molds and designs that they've had in their families for over 100 years. So again, it's just such a joy. I spend about 6 weeks each year in Europe, traveling from workshop to workshop to do all the product development. I'm already working on next year right now, but I'm just so excited about this year. I mean, people can see my ornaments on my website, heartfullyyours.com, and I know that there's a little bit of my heart in every single ornament that goes to all people's homes this Christmas. That makes me feel good.
Christopher, thank you so much for being on the show. I know a lot of celebrities collect your ornaments, and I know you have a lot of stories. Just as we close this interview, tell us what your celebrity encounters have been like.
Oh gosh, they've been a blast. Hugh Jackman, Elton John, Bruce Springsteen, you name it. I mean, elegant, wonderful stars from previous decades like Julie Andrews, Sophia Loren, even Katharine Hepburn when she was still living, Princess Diana, for instance. Just like us regular folk, celebrities love beautiful Christmas ornaments and celebrating in a traditional way. And that's what I'm able to supply, because these ornaments are made by hand. They're made in Europe. And I'm the designer, Christopher Radko. So that makes Christmas happen.
Well, Christopher, keep designing the happiness that we all get to celebrate every year. Thanks so much for being on Liftoff.
Oh, and thanks for featuring my brand new company, Heartfully Yours. Thank you.
Well, on that sparkling note, let's close it out today. Thanks for joining me on Liftoff. I hope you had something that you can take away to help improve your life, your business, and your outlook. Be sure to follow us on social and tell us all about what you want to see more of. See you next time.
The proceeding was sponsored by Liftoff Enterprises, LLC.